Jenny and Kaylin, and thank you again so much for taking your time today to chat with me. I'm so excited to talk with you about Completing and how we've been able to help you out. So let's start with your company. Tell me about Nonstop Reviews. What are your main products and services?
So we work in the publishing industry. We work with independent publishers, independent authors, and we help them get honest Amazon reviews on their books.
Before you started working with Completing, tell me a little bit about that situation. How were you operating? What challenges were you facing? What was impacting your operations?
So we were a fully manual operation prior to working with Completing. So I'm talking like Excel sheet, even relying on our text conversation, like those kinds of things to keep track of everything, Google Calendars, all those kinds of things. It left us very open for human error. It was hard to keep track of everything. We were making a lot of mistakes. So when we started working with Completion, our goal was to automate. And so as much as possible to kind of take it off of our Excel sheets and onto a much more foolproof system, which I think we have largely accomplished. And so we're thrilled with essentially the direction that Completing has taken us. It's eliminated a substantial amount of errors that we were making before simply just by being a fully manual company. So now we have that now, which has just made our lives so much easier.
Well, and it's always nice to have a vote of confidence there. I do wonder, thinking though again about those challenges, and you've alluded to this a bit, think a little bit about the customer experience or your team's experience with those challenges, and what were the end result of those bottlenecks? Where were you getting stuck?
Problem is we would get dozens of books, hundreds of books, and thousands of reviews that we were keeping track of. With everything being manual, the opportunity for error was incredibly high. The biggest thing that was happening really was that we couldn't expand. We couldn't rely and grow working off of an Excel sheet stored or a Google sheet stored on our Google Drive that we all shared. And yet that was the heart of the operation. And because our business was specialized enough, there really wasn't an out-of-the-box solution that we could find that we could reliably say, hey, you know what, we'll just register for this program and plug and play and off we go. We really needed a recommendation. I mean, I've worked with I've worked with dozens of CRM systems. I worked in dozens of different companies. I'm fairly experienced with different technologies that are out there. I had no idea where to go. And I honestly had no idea who to ask for help. I'd talk to people and I'd say, hey, have you ever heard of anything like this? I'm looking for something like this. I would network, I would liaise. And it was one of our customers who came back to us and said, hey, you know what? I just had a conversation with this great company and it sounds like they could solve the problem you're looking for. Why don't you contact Stephen at Completing? Maybe this will go somewhere. I'm like, okay, I'm willing to talk to anybody at this point. And that's what started all this. And he said, oh yeah, this is what we do. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you.
That's great to hear. And I think now, zapping forward a few months, we have a system and a set of workflows that at least are more scalable, certainly are automated. Tell me about how some of those issues were solved as we've implemented our solutions here.
Yeah, kind of alluding back to what Jenny was saying there. We had no capacity to grow because we were stuck within the limitations of the technology we were working in. And so we ended up in Airtable is the technology we ended up using. And so it's an easy system to use. I was more so concerned about like, oh my goodness, I'm going to learn a whole new system and like it'll reorder everything that we do. There's always those headaches when we come with learning and growing and whatnot. But honestly, it was not difficult. It actually streamlined our process. It took a lot of tasks off my plate that were now being done in an automatic way. Simply just tracking where we were, being able to give live updates to our customers was something that we were never able to do effectively prior to using this. Now we can do it in real time, which is fantastic. And so it makes us more reliable to our customer base. And then again, like Danny said, allowed us to expand our business in a way that we never would have been able to if we had stuck on our Google Drive.
Sure.
There were days where I was completely overwhelmed because I was chasing. The business was running me. I wasn't running the business. And having the qualified recommendation as far as what technology to use. That's the nice thing about Completing. You came forward and you said, okay, well, look, I went and I did some discovery discovery. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 recommendations. My personal preference are these two, and here's why. We could go through those on a consultative basis, kind of led us through the options, and we were able to make a decision as far as which one we felt was the best choice. Things have really expanded since then. We've got the technology in place, and we keep finding new things that we want to do with the technology. Okay, well, now that we've got the basics covered, how can we use this to streamline our marketing? How can we target customers that are now in the system? How can we use that to do other things? But the thing with completing is you're not just a technology company. Now our business is really progressing to a point where we're looking at different levels of expansion. We're looking at different metrics to measure the company. We're looking at different marketing streams, all of which completing has been able to weigh in really as a very 360 business consulting company.
So you've talked a bit about how the changes have really impacted the team experience and the customer experience and sort of your daily work with the new technology. But now I'd like to ask a question digging into the nitty-gritty. How did you feel the implementation went? What impacts are you seeing on the business through the implementation process?
The implementation process was actually very smooth. I've migrated many systems and they're always a headache. This was actually relatively smooth. I mean, I think the fact, Topher, that we met with you 2 to 3 times a week, that everybody could do their work for a couple of days, we'd come in and we go, this isn't working, or how do I find this? And then we would debrief. It made it so much smoother. The systems I've migrated to in the past have been like, okay, we're live. Good luck. And, you might get a quick tutorial, but that's it. And then you have to live the nightmare of figuring it out on your own and trying to find where to get the questions. We had immediate access to that the whole way along. So the implementation was very smooth. And I kind of considered a funnel. We started, it was like, okay, we'll duplicate the system, do the old system too, do this one. But as we got better and better at the new system, finally you're like, it's time to cut the strings, guys. This is going away on Friday. So yeah, we're a lot more efficient. It's great. Our operations are going smoothly. I'm happy with they are. Our ability to predict and forecast is huge. We have real numbers now. As a young company, I didn't know exactly how many reviews we were fulfilling every week. I didn't have good data to check that. And as soon as I knew what we were doing, when I challenged the team to do more, we could track how much more. And guess what? They were able to do that because they were being held accountable for things that I didn't have visibility on. So from a management role, having real data in real time not only makes the team effective, it's all in the system. They can just pull it up themselves. They get the information they need, and each person can fulfill their role a lot better. But the overseer of the company, being able to get real data and challenge people on what they're producing, to be able to hold people accountable, to be able to make realistic predictions on how we can grow. These are real things that I needed to know. As a new company and not having real insight into my numbers or not, I thought it cost us a lot less to fulfill orders than it actually did. And in knowing that information, I realized very quickly we had to raise our prices. I didn't know that before. There was always money in the bank account, but that's not a good predictor of what your profitability is. That was one of the early things I did. As soon as we got onto the system, we were able to track them. Like, oh my gosh, it probably cost us double to fulfill. I actually thought my math was wrong. I'm like, this can't be right. And it's like, oh my God, we are not as profitable as I thought we were. And immediately we had to implement changes. I couldn't make those predictions before because I didn't have real data. It has changed everything that we do from a company perspective. No company can survive forever if you don't know your profit point. So just from that point of view, bringing in, completing, having the right technology, migrating to that system saved the company because we were on a bad path. And other than not having the technology, I didn't know it. I will tell you my surprise. Number one, the follow-up from senior management was really timely and very kind. I don't find completing to be so high corporate that it's not personal. That personal touch was like, hey, how is it going? Please reach out to me for anything. We really care about what's happening here. And that kind of follow up I thought was really great. I will say this in closing, as an entrepreneur, you don't have all the answers. And having wise counsel to come into your business and be able to provide all aspects of whether it's financial counseling, whatever it is that you're facing as an entrepreneur, completing is honestly probably the best company I've ever worked with in a consulting capacity. I couldn't recommend it more highly. It's thoughtful, it's caring. I think sometimes you lose sleep over thinking about our business, and we appreciate that because it's a level of engagement that we wouldn't otherwise get from somebody who wasn't invested in the business. Completing has been a wonderful partner for us.